For all his power as god of strife and lord of the dead, Cyric cannot achieve that which he desires most, revenge on the goddess of magic. To this end, he searches in vain for the soul of Celeborn Lionsbane, once Cyric's friend and the goddess Midnight's lover, in the time when all three roamed the world as mortals. Celeborn remains hidden from Cyric by those who would see the mad god overthrown, but Cyric will risk all to find his quiet nemesis, even the destruction of the realm of the dead. Hello and welcome to Liam's Lyceum. I am your host, Liam, aka Himvar, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review of James Lowder's Prince of Lies. Prince of Lies is a 1993 novel by James Lowder. It is book 4 in the Avatar series, or if you look at it differently, it is the first sequel to the Avatar trilogy. Now, James Lowder did not write any of the original 3 books, but I will say right up front that this was the best one so far. And if you watched my reviews for the other books, then, well, you know that I enjoyed the first 3 books. Now, this will contain spoilers for Shadowdale, Tantris, and Waterdeep. But like I said, I have reviews up for that, and this is also well-known, well-utilized, heavily dispersed information, and has been for now several decades. So this is not, I feel like it wouldn't be bad to watch this at all. If you have any interest in Dungeons & Dragons or the Forgotten Realms, this information is not new. Now, it was something that shook the realms. It shook the cosmology, and we had different gods. But at this point, that cosmology has already shifted, and this is the follow-up about the conflict between those new gods. First off, we are introduced to Gwydion the Quick of Cormyr, who, at this time, is a sellsword, but once served under Azun as a purple dragon against the Tweegan horde, which is told in a different Forgotten Realms trilogy. And early on in this book, we have the appearance of a god. If you remember from Tantris, it's, well, I won't spoil it, actually. So, this story, though, does start in Thar, which is by the Moon Sea. And Gwydion is looking for treasure, and he is called upon a being that is supposedly Torm, god of duty, to take up the place of Albin, a famous giant slayer. Now, Gwydion has one of the most interesting and dynamic character arcs I have ever read in a book that is essentially a standalone novel, essentially a Forgotten Realms standalone novel, which is to say, they're not generally all that in-depth. Now, this book is slightly longer than your typical Forgotten Realms novel. It is closer to 400 pages rather than 300 pages. And we have some great Forgotten Realms characters in here. We have Fizzle Chembrel, who is Lord of Zentral Keep. But we also have characters like Adon, who, if you read Waterdeep, who was once a priest of Sune Firehair, the goddess of beauty, but is now a priest and really the patriarch of Mystra, goddess of magic, based off his friendship with Midnight. And then we also get, finally, a name for the red sword that Cyric got from Sneakabout in Waterdeep, and it is called Godsbane. And Godsbane is still a great character and plays a very interesting role. So this takes place in 1368, so 10 years after the Avatar Crisis of 1358, rather. Other great characters are Rinda, who is a scribe who's kind of playing for both sides. We also have Ogma, the god of knowledge, who has an interesting appearance, and Mask, especially if you're a fan of Erebus Kale. Mask does appear here, and though written by a different hand, he is of the same personality. We also have Vrak, who is a general and orc, or half-orc, I can't quite remember. Also in this book is art. So we have some great art, just like I believe there is a picture of some of the holy warriors of Cyric in this, and we also have, I believe, a portrait of Jurgle, who is a god of the dead, but mostly Cyric seneschal here. And so overall, we just have a great cast. We have Mystra, who is mostly playing against Cyric. That's the main conflict, and it's pretty interesting. We see a lot of the gods, we see a lot of mortals, and we also see some, like, elder evils type of things, and a couple, even. And so, overall, this is just a great continuation of the story. And if you haven't read the first 3 books, it's honestly it's a good place. I would read the first 3 books. You'd get more out of it that way, but James Lowder shows himself to be quite a good author, and this is the first story I believe I've read by him. He wrote one Ravenloft novel, and I also know he wrote the Ring of Winter book about the Harpers. And so I am looking forward to reading more by him because he has showed himself to be worth my time. And now there is one more sequel to this book. It is called Crucible, The Trials of Cyrix the Mad, which came out in 1998, I believe, and is again by Troy Denning, who wrote Waterdeep. So we'll see how that goes. But anyways, I've been enjoying my adventures throughout the Forgotten Realms. And honestly, it's great to have small time adventures, but in this case we have gods. We have gods, we have a big battle, we have a lot of intrigue, and we have a lot of time in the plains, which we don't get a lot in, well, the most Forgotten Realms novels I've read. But this was my 67th Forgotten Realms novel, and believe it or not, that is hardly a chunk out of all the great books that are available to us. So this has been Liam's Lyceum. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any Forgotten Realms questions or next quests or adventures you want to go on, I might want to come with you. So, I'll catch you next time.